The huge meeting room on the Drakari mothership was cold and dark. Only the blue glow from star maps lit the faces of the 12 war leaders. They sat around a round table, looking at pictures of a small blue planet. Fleet Commander Zex Toll stood tall, his gray skin shining under the dim lights. His 4 eyes blinked as he pointed to the floating image of Earth. "This planet has everything we need," he said. "Water, metals, and land. The locals call it Earth. They are weak. Their weapons are old. Their armies are small. It will be an easy victory." The other Drakari leaders nodded. Their species had taken over 30 planets already. Each time, the local people had tried to fight back. Each time, they had lost within days. The Drakari were too strong, too smart, too advanced. "Our scouts report they have no space fleet," said General Voxnar, the oldest of the war leaders. "They have never been past their own moon. They will not see us coming until it is too late." Zex Toll smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "We will send 300 ships. We will take the planet in 3 days." The doors to the meeting room slid open. A tall, thin figure walked in without asking. She was not Drakari. Her skin was white like milk, and she had only 2 eyes. She wore the silver and blue robes of the Galactic Council. "You were not invited, Ambassador Lurvek," said Zex Toll, his voice hard. Lurvek did not seem worried. "The Council has learned of your plans to attack Earth. I am here to warn you against this action." The Drakari leaders laughed. They did not respect the Galactic Council. The Council talked about peace and rules, but the Drakari believed in power and conquest. "The Council has no say in Drakari military matters," said Zex Toll. "This planet is not part of any protected zone." Lurvek walked to the table. She looked at the image of Earth spinning slowly in the air. "Earth is classified as a level 4 hazardous world," she said. "The humans are dangerous, not because of their weapons, but because of what they are." General Voxnar frowned. "Hazardous. They are primitive. They still burn fossil fuels. They fight wars among themselves. They are divided and weak. Appearances can be misleading," said Lurvek. 7 different species have tried to invade Earth in the last 200 years. None returned. The Council strongly advises you to cancel this invasion." Zex Toll walked around the table. He stood very close to Lurvek, looking down at her. "Are you threatening the Drakari hegemony?" he asked. "I am trying to save you," she replied. "The humans do not have advanced technology, this is true, but they learn very quickly. They adapt. They are unpredictable, and they never, ever give up." "Enough," shouted Zex Toll. "We have heard the Council's warning. Now leave us." Lurvek looked at each Drakari leader one by one. "I have delivered the official warning as required by galactic law. What happens next is on your heads." She turned and walked out of the room. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. "Stupid Council," muttered Voxinar. "Always trying to stop progress. Always making up rules." Zex Toll returned to his place at the table. "The invasion will proceed as planned. The fleet leaves tomorrow. We will reach Earth in 6 days." He pressed a button, and the image of Earth grew larger. They could see the continents, the oceans, the swirling clouds. "Look at it," said Zex Toll. "So blue, so full of resources, so defenseless." On the screens around the room, 300 Drakari warships floated in space. They were ready. Soldiers were boarding. Weapons were being loaded. The invasion fleet was the largest the Drakari had ever assembled. "Send the order," said Zex Toll. General Voxnar pressed a series of buttons on the table. "Order sent. The fleet acknowledges." Outside the mothership, the engines of 300 warships glowed bright red. One by one, they turned toward the distant sun that the humans called their own. One by one, they disappeared into hyperspace. The Drakari were coming to Earth, and the Galactic Council had tried to warn them. Diane Miller yawned as she stared at her computer screen. The night shift at the Nevada Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Most of her coworkers were asleep in the break room. Only the soft beeping of machines kept her company. She took a sip of cold coffee and frowned. Something was wrong with the data. The deep space sensors were picking up strange readings from the edge of the solar system. At first, she thought it was a computer error, but the readings got stronger. "That's not possible," she whispered to herself. The objects were moving too fast, then suddenly slowing down. Nothing natural moved like that. Diane grabbed the phone and called her boss. "Director Allen, you need to come see this right away." Frank Allen arrived 20 minutes later, his tie crooked and his eyes still puffy from sleep. He leaned over Diane's shoulder and stared at the screen. "How many?" he asked, his voice suddenly very serious. "I count at least 200 large objects," said Diane. "Maybe more. They're slowing down near Jupiter's orbit." Director Allen straightened up. "Call everyone in. Now. And get me a direct line to the Pentagon." Within hours, the small monitoring station buzzed with activity. Scientists and military personnel filled every room. Diane watched as her simple discovery turned into something much bigger. Far away in Washington, D.C., President Kate Howard sat in the Oval Office. 4 generals and 3 scientists stood in front of her desk. "You're certain these are not natural objects?" she asked. "Yes, Madam President," said General Scott Blake. "Their movement patterns are clearly artificial. They're using some form of propulsion we don't understand." "And they're headed directly for Earth?" asked the President. One of the scientists stepped forward. "Yes. At their current speed, they will reach Earth in approximately 48 hours. President Howard rubbed her temples. "What are our options?" "We've activated Protocol Sentinel," said General Blake. "All military bases worldwide are on high alert. The underground shelters are being prepared. But honestly, we don't know what we're facing." The President stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the White House lawn, at the tourists taking pictures, at the normal day unfolding. Soon, everything would change. "It's time to tell the public," she said. That evening, TV stations around the world interrupted their programs. President Howard's face appeared on screens in living rooms, bars, airports, and town squares. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began. "Today, our scientists have confirmed the presence of extraterrestrial vessels approaching Earth." In a small house in San Diego, Navy Commander John Curtis watched the speech with his wife Lisa. His phone rang before the President finished speaking. "Curtis," he answered. "Commander, this is Admiral Wilson. Report to Naval Base San Diego immediately. Bring nothing. Everything you need will be provided." John looked at his wife. "I have to go." Lisa nodded. She knew this day might come. "Be careful," she said as he kissed her goodbye. All across America, similar scenes played out. Military personnel said hasty goodbyes. Scientists grabbed emergency bags. Government officials hurried to secure locations. But the public reaction surprised many officials. There was concern, yes. Some panic buying emptied store shelves. But there were no riots, no mass hysteria. People gathered in homes and public places, watching the news, waiting. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, General Eric Martinez addressed a room full of men and women in unmarked uniforms. "Today is the day we've prepared for," he said. "For 70 years, we've been building, planning, waiting. Now it's time." On screens around the room, they watched as the alien fleet passed Mars. The strange ships were clear now on the advanced telescopes. Dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Activate all defense systems," ordered General Martinez. "Wake up the sleeper cells. It's time to show these visitors that Earth isn't the easy target they think it is." The aliens were coming, but Earth was ready. The sky above Chicago turned dark at noon. Sam Winters looked up from his small backyard garden and watched as strange clouds formed. But they weren't clouds. They were ships, huge, black ships that blocked the sun. Sam dropped his gardening tools and ran inside the house. Olivia, get downstairs now. His 16-year-old daughter appeared at the top of the stairs. Dad, what's wrong? They're here, he said. He grabbed the emergency bag from the hall closet. For years, his friends had laughed at him for keeping it ready. Now he was glad he did. Across the city, people stood in streets and looked up. Some took pictures. Some ran. Some just stared, unable to believe what they were seeing. Then the first explosions hit. The Drakari ships fired energy beams at key targets: military bases, power plants, communication towers. The ground shook. Windows broke. Car alarms screamed. Similar scenes played out in cities around the world: London, Beijing, Moscow, Cairo, Sydney. The Drakari attack was global and coordinated. Fleet Commander Zex Toll watched from his command ship. Report, he ordered. First wave of attack successful, said his officer. Earth's primitive defenses are failing as expected. Their communications are in chaos. Begin landing ground troops, ordered Zex Toll. Secure the major population centers first. From the bellies of the Drakari ships, smaller vessels emerged. They descended to Earth, landing in parks, on highways, in town squares. When they opened, tall armored soldiers marched out. Each Drakari soldier stood 8 feet tall and carried weapons that could fire energy bolts hot enough to melt steel. In Washington, D.C., the Pentagon shook from nearby explosions. But deep inside, in rooms protected by feet of concrete, military leaders continued their work. Status report, demanded General Blake. New York is under heavy attack, said a young officer. Chicago, Los Angeles, and Houston as well. Similar reports from capitals worldwide. General Blake nodded. And our special facilities. All secure, sir. The aliens don't seem to know about them. Good. Begin Operation Counterpunch. Around the world, hidden doors opened in mountains, in desert floors, under lakes. Weapons that no public military report had ever mentioned were activated. Soldiers in advanced armor suits that few humans knew existed moved into position. Zex Toll frowned as new reports came in. What do you mean, unexpected resistance? His tactical officer looked nervous. The humans are responding with weapons we didn't detect in our scans. They seem to have hidden capabilities. Impossible, said Zex Toll. Our intelligence was thorough. They have no advanced technology. See for yourselves, said the officer, showing him a video feed from Tokyo. Drakari ground troops were backing away from human soldiers wearing strange armor. The human weapons fired pulses that somehow penetrated Drakari shields. How is this possible? Demanded Zex Toll. In Chicago, Sam and Olivia Winters huddled in their basement with 3 neighbor families. The sounds of fighting came from outside. Dad, I'm scared, said Olivia. Sam held her hand. I know, but we'll get through this. A loud crash came from upstairs. Everyone froze. Heavy footsteps moved across their living room floor. Don't make a sound, whispered Sam. The basement door opened. Everyone held their breath. But instead of an alien, a human soldier in black armor appeared. I'm Sergeant Ryan Ellis, United States Special Forces, he said. We're evacuating all civilians from this area. Please come with me. Where are we going? Asked Mrs. Peterson, their elderly neighbor. To a secure facility, said Sergeant Ellis. We've been preparing for this day for a long time. As they followed the soldier out through a back route, Olivia turned to her father. What did he mean? They've been preparing. Sam shook his head. I don't know. What none of the civilians knew was that Earth had been ready for this attack. The public panic that the Drakari expected didn't happen. Instead, humans followed emergency plans that seemed too organized for a first contact situation. In his ship, Zex Toll was getting more confused by the minute. These humans know too much about us, he said. They're targeting specific weaknesses in our technology. Should we call for reinforcements? Asked his second-in-command. Zextol's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. No, we will not be defeated by primitives. Increase the attack. Show no mercy. The invasion of Earth had only just begun, and it wasn't going as planned. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, President Kate Howard walked through steel doors into a large room filled with screens and busy people. This was the heart of the Terran Defense Initiative, a secret group that had existed for over 70 years. "Madam President," said General Eric Martinez, standing to greet her, "welcome to Thunder Mountain." "I've read about this place in classified files," said the president, looking around. "But seeing it is something else. We've been waiting for this day for generations," said General Martinez. "Every president since Truman has known about our preparations." "Show me what we got," said President Howard. They walked to a large table in the center of the room. A 3D map of Earth hovered above it, with red dots showing Dracari positions and blue dots showing human forces. "The Dracari expected us to be surprised and scared," said General Martinez. "Instead, we've been activating defense plans that were made decades ago." A woman in a white lab coat joined them. "Dr. Natalie Wright, head of Xenotechnology Research," she said, shaking the president's hand. "Doctor, explain what we know about the enemy," said General Martinez. Dr. Wright touched the table, and a 3D image of a Dracari soldier appeared. "We've been studying their kind since 1947, she said. "The Roswell crash wasn't their first visit, just the most famous one." "You mean all those conspiracy theories about the government hiding alien technology were true?" asked the president. "Partially," said Dr. Wright. "We did recover alien technology, but not just to study it. We've been preparing for a full invasion." She touched another button, and images of strange devices appeared. "We've reverse-engineered their weapons, their shields, even some of their ships." "That's why the Dracari are confused," said General Martinez. "They expected primitive defenses. Instead, we're using technology similar to their own." "What's our status now?" asked the president. "The first day has gone better than expected," said General Martinez. "The Dracari control some cities, but our forces are holding strong. The underground bases are safe, and the Dracari still don't know about our biggest surprise." "Project Prometheus?" asked the president. "Yes," said General Martinez with a smile. "The fleet is ready." In orbit around Earth, Zextol was angry. He pounded his fist on the arm of his command chair. "It's been 24 hours, he shouted. "We should have controlled this planet by now." His officers looked nervous. No one wanted to give more bad news to the commander. "The humans are using energy shields," said one brave officer. "They have weapons that can hurt our soldiers. It's like they've seen our technology before." "Impossible," said Zextol. "They've barely been to their own moon. They can't have technology like ours." Just then, alarms sounded throughout the ship. "What now?" demanded Zextol. "New energy signatures," said an officer, looking at his screen. "Hundreds of them. Coming from under the oceans." On screens throughout the Dracari fleet, they watched as the waters of Earth's oceans began to churn. Giant metal doors opened on the ocean floor. From these hidden underwater bases, ships began to rise. Human ships, but not the simple aircraft the Dracari had seen before. These were spacecraft, clearly built for battle. "This cannot be," whispered Zextol. "The intelligence reports said they had no space fleet." "The reports were wrong," said his second-in-command. In an underwater base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Commander John Curtis sat in the captain's chair of the EDS Defender, the flagship of Earth's secret fleet. Around him, a crew of men and women checked systems and prepared for launch. "All systems ready, Commander," said his first officer, Linda Reyes. "Communications," said Commander Curtis. "Connect me to all ships." A young officer nodded. "You're connected to the entire fleet, sir." Commander Curtis took a deep breath. "This is Commander Curtis to all Earth defense ships. The moment we've trained for has arrived. Today we take the fight to the enemy. Today we show them that Earth is not an easy target. Today we defend our home. Across the globe, from bases hidden under oceans, lakes, and ice caps, 300 Earth ships rose into the sky. The counterattack had begun. And in orbit, the Drakari watched in shock as their easy conquest turned into a real war. The battle in space was unlike anything humans had ever experienced before. Earth ships, silver and sleek, moved in formation against the dark angular vessels of the Drakari. Energy beams cut through the darkness of space, creating beautiful though deadly light shows. Commander John Curtis gripped the arms of his command chair as the EDS Defender shook from a nearby explosion. "Status report," he called. "Shields holding at 80%, said Officer Linda Reyes. "All weapons systems operational." Curtis studied the tactical display. The Drakari had more ships, but they were confused by Earth's unexpected resistance. It gave the humans an advantage. "Target the lead destroyer," ordered Curtis. "Fire when ready." The Defender's main guns charged up, glowing blue with energy. Then they fired. A pulse of bright energy shot across space and hit a Drakari ship right where its engines connected to the main body. The alien ship broke in two, then exploded. "Direct hit," shouted the weapons officer. "How did you know where to target?" asked Linda Reyes. Curtis gave a small smile. "We've been studying their ship designs for decades. We know their weak points." All across Earth's orbit, similar scenes played out. Human ships attacked with surprising precision, targeting specific points on the Drakari vessels. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had recovered and studied crashed Drakari scout ships from previous small invasions over the years. On the ground, the fight was just as fierce. In Seattle, resistance fighter Maria Gonzalez led a small team through the ruins of downtown. They moved quietly, staying in shadows, avoiding Drakari patrols. "There," she whispered, pointing to a tall metal tower the aliens had set up in the middle of a park. "That's their communication relay." "How do we take it down?" asked Steve, a young man who had been a college student just days ago. Now he carried a stolen Drakari energy rifle. "The base," said Maria. "See that round part at the bottom? That's the quantum stabilizer. One good hit there, and the whole thing will collapse." "How do you know that?" asked Steve. Maria looked at him. "Special Forces training. Now let's move." What Maria didn't say was that her training included detailed files on Drakari technology that the government had been collecting for years. Knowledge was Earth's secret weapon. On the Drakari command ship, Zextul watched in growing horror as his invasion force took heavy losses. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These humans know exactly where to hit our ships, how to disrupt our communications. It's like they've been studying us for years." His second-in-command, who had always been more cautious, spoke quietly. "Perhaps the Galactic Council's warning had merit. Perhaps there is more to these humans than we understood." Zextul hissed in anger. "We are the Drakari. We do not retreat. Send in our reserve forces. We will crush these humans with sheer numbers." Back on Earth, in the underground command center, President Howard watched the battle unfold on the big screens. "We're holding our own," said General Martinez, "but the Drakari are bringing in reinforcements. This will be a long fight." Dr. Wright entered the room quickly, excitement on her face. "Madam President, we've done it. The translation program is complete. We can now understand the Drakari communications." "Put it on the main screen," ordered the President. The large screen filled with alien text, which quickly changed to English. Everyone in the room fell silent as they read the messages passing between Drakari ships. "They're scared," said General Martinez finally. "They don't understand how we know so much about their technology." "And look at this," said Dr. Wright, pointing to one section. "They're talking about the Galactic Council. Apparently, the Council warned them not to attack Earth." "Why would the Council do that?" asked the President. "I don't know," admitted Dr. Wright. "But it suggests there's more going on here than just a random invasion. As the battle raged in space and on the ground, both sides began to realize that this war was different from any they had fought before. The Drakari were learning that humans were far more dangerous than they had believed, and humans were discovering that their place in the galaxy might be more complicated than they had ever imagined. The war for Earth had only just begun. The battle for Earth had raged for 7 days. Cities lay in ruins. Millions of people hid in shelters. But the Drakari were not winning as easily as they had expected. Human forces fought back with surprising strength and knowledge. Commander John Curtis stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, looking at the view screen. His ship had destroyed 12 Drakari vessels so far. But there were still many more. "Sir," called Officer Linda Reyes, "long-range sensors are detecting something big. Very big." Curtis looked at the readings. "Magnify." The screen showed a distant part of space where something unusual was happening. The blackness seemed to ripple and tear open. A huge hole appeared in space itself, glowing with blue light around its edges. "What is that?" asked Curtis. Before anyone could answer, ships began to emerge from the hole. Not Drakari ships. These were different, smooth, round vessels that seemed to glow with inner light. "New contacts," said the sensor officer. "At least 50 ships, design unknown." "Are they heading toward us?" asked Curtis. "Yes, sir. Directly toward Earth." Curtis took a deep breath. Battle stations. Prepare for new hostiles. On the Drakari command ship, Zextol also watched the new arrivals with concern. "Identify those vessels," he ordered. His officer studied the readings, then looked up with fear in his 4 eyes. "It's the Galactic Council fleet, sir." Zextol felt cold. The Council rarely intervened directly in conflicts. For them to send a fleet meant something serious was happening. "Open a channel to their lead ship," he ordered. Before his communications officer could act, a message came through on all frequencies, broadcasting to both Drakari and human ships. "This is High Arbitrator Vendal of the Galactic Council," said a calm voice. "This conflict must cease immediately. The Drakari hegemony has violated Council Directive 5473 by attacking a protected species. In the underground command center on Earth, President Howard and her advisors listened to the message with confusion. "Protected species," repeated General Martinez. "What does that mean?" "The transmission continues," said a communications officer. "Representatives of both Earth and the Drakari hegemony will present themselves aboard the Council diplomatic vessel immediately," continued Vendal's voice. "Coordinates for safe passage are being transmitted now." President Howard looked at her advisors. "Opinions?" "It could be a trap," said General Martinez. "I don't think so," said Dr. Wright. "The Council seems to be intervening on our behalf. This could be our chance to end this war without more bloodshed." The President nodded. "Prepare a shuttle." "I'm going." "Madam President, that's too dangerous," protested General Martinez. "This is a first contact situation with a potentially friendly alien power," said the President firmly. "I need to be there." 2 hours later, a small Earth shuttle approached the largest of the Council vessels. It was beautiful, a perfect sphere that shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and change. Next to it, a Drakari shuttle also approached. Inside the Council ship, a large room had been prepared. One side held chairs for the Earth delegation. The other side had seats for the Drakari. In the center was a raised platform where 3 tall, white-skinned aliens stood, the Council representatives. President Howard entered with General Martinez and Dr. Wright. From the other door came Zextol and 2 other Drakari officers. Both groups stared at each other with suspicion. "Welcome," said the tallest of the Council members. "I am High Arbitrator Vendal. This conflict ends now." Zextol stepped forward angrily. "The Council has no right to interfere in Drakari military operations." "You were warned not to attack Earth," said Vendal calmly. "You chose to ignore that warning." President Howard spoke up. "Why did you warn them? What makes Earth special?" Vendal turned to look at the humans. His eyes were kind but ancient, as if he had seen thousands of years pass. Earth is not just another planet, he said. Humanity is not just another species. You are one of the progenitor legacy species, with genetic markers indicating you were seeded by the founders themselves. Both humans and Drakari looked confused. What does that mean? Asked President Howard. It means, said Vendal, that your people are far more important to the galaxy than you have ever known. And it is time you learned the truth about your place in the cosmos. The meeting room on the Galactic Council ship was silent. President Howard, General Martinez, and Dr. Wright sat across from the Drakari leaders. Between them stood High Arbitrator Vendal and two other council members. What do you mean, progenitor legacy species? Asked President Howard. Who are the founders you mentioned? Vendal made a gesture with his long fingers, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a galaxy spinning slowly. Long ago, before any of our civilizations existed, a race we call the Founders traveled the stars, he explained. They were the first advanced species in our galaxy. They had technology beyond anything we have even now. The hologram changed to show strange beings with glowing skin. The Founders visited many planets, continued Vendal. On some, they found early life. On others, they planted the seeds of life themselves. On special worlds, they altered the natural course of evolution. Earth was one of these special worlds, said a female council member named Lirvek. She was the same one who had warned the Drakari not to attack Earth. You're saying aliens made humans? Asked General Martinez with disbelief. Not made, corrected Vendal. Guided. The Founders saw potential in early primates on your world. They made small changes to your genetic code, changes that would one day lead to greater intelligence, creativity, and adaptability than most species develop naturally. That's why the Council warned you away from Earth, Lirvek said to Zextal. Founder legacy species are unpredictable. They learn and adapt faster than other races. They think in ways that surprise even us. Zextal looked angry. Why were we not told this before? You only said Earth was classified as dangerous. Would you have believed the truth? Asked Lirvek. While the aliens talked, Dr. Wright leaned closer to President Howard. This explains so much, she whispered. The artifacts we found in Antarctica decades ago had symbols that match what they're showing us. You knew about this? Asked the President in surprise. Not all of it, said Dr. Wright. But we found evidence that Earth had been visited in prehistoric times. We kept it secret to avoid panic. Vendal spoke again. The Founders eventually transcended physical form and left our galaxy. But before they did, they asked the first members of the Galactic Council to watch over their legacy worlds. Including Earth, said President Howard. Yes, confirmed Vendal. We have monitored your progress for thousands of years. The small invasions, said General Martinez suddenly. The crashed ships we recovered over the decades. Were those tests? Lirvek nodded. Some were accidents, but yes, some were deliberate, giving you small pieces of technology to see what you would do with them. You were testing us, asked President Howard, her voice showing anger. We needed to know if you would use advanced technology wisely, said Vendal. Most species would have used alien technology to dominate their own kind. You primarily developed defensive applications. You created multinational protocols. You kept the knowledge controlled but shared among nations. You passed those tests, added Lirvek. That's why we allowed your secret space program to develop. We even helped in small ways your scientists never noticed. Zextal stood up, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in anger. So this entire time, you were helping the humans, while telling us they were just primitives to be avoided. We told you they were dangerous, corrected Vendal. Which they are. Dr. Wright smiled slightly. We did destroy quite a few of your ships. The Drakari invasion was unfortunate, said Vendal. But it has accelerated your timeline for joining the galactic community. What happens now? Asked President Howard. "Now," said Vendal, "humanity will take its rightful place among the stars. But first, peace must be established." He turned to Zextal. "The Drakari will withdraw all forces from Earth immediately. You will pay reparations for the damage caused." "And if we refuse?" challenged Zextul. "Then the combined forces of the Council and Earth will drive you from this system," said Vendal simply. "You are outnumbered now." Zextul looked at his officers, then back at the Council members. He knew he had no choice. "We will withdraw," he said finally. "A wise decision," said Vendal. "Perhaps the Drakari can learn something from humanity after all." 6 months had passed since the Drakari invasion. Earth had changed forever. Cities damaged in the fighting were being rebuilt. Some now had strange new buildings with alien technology helping to power them. The existence of aliens was no longer a secret. People everywhere had seen the ships, both enemy and friendly. In Chicago, Sam and Olivia Winters stood in a new memorial park. Stone markers had names of those lost in the invasion. They placed flowers at one that read Helen Peterson, their elderly neighbor who had not survived the evacuation. "Do you think things will ever feel normal again?" asked Olivia. Sam looked up at the sky. "You could sometimes see Galactic Council ships in orbit if you looked carefully." "No," he said honestly, "but maybe that's okay. Maybe we needed to change." Across the globe, humans were learning about their new place in the galaxy. Schools now taught about alien races and distant stars as real places, not just as science fiction. Some Drakari had even stayed on Earth, asking for asylum. They were fascinated by human culture and wanted to learn more. In what was once the secret underground base beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Howard met with High Arbitrator Vendal. The base was now the headquarters of the Earth Diplomatic and Defense Authority, the new public organization that had replaced the secret Terran Defense Initiative. "The transition is going well," said President Howard. "Most people have accepted the truth easier than we expected." "Humans are adaptable," said Vendal. "It is one of your greatest strengths." They walked through a large hangar where workers were finishing a new ship. It was bigger than any vessel humans had built before. Its silver hull gleamed under the lights. "The EDS Horizon," said President Howard proudly. "Our first official interstellar vessel." "A fine ship," said Vendal, "and an important symbol of Earth's new role in the galaxy." Commander John Curtis, now Admiral Curtis, stood nearby directing the final preparations. When he saw the president and the council member, he walked over to join them. "We'll be ready for the launch ceremony tomorrow," he said. "All systems are testing perfectly." "The horizon represents more than just our technological achievement," said President Howard. "It represents humanity's resilience and our new place in the galactic community." "Who would have thought," said Admiral Curtis, "that an invasion would lead to this?" In Geneva, Switzerland, workers finished construction on a beautiful new building. Its design combined human and alien architecture in a way that felt both strange and wonderful. This was the new Galactic Council Embassy on Earth. Inside, Carol Reed prepared for her first day as Earth's ambassador to the Council. She reviewed files on alien cultures and practiced diplomatic greetings in 3 non-human languages. Next week, she would travel to the Council's Central Worlds, the first human to officially visit the heart of galactic civilization. "Ambassador Reed," said her assistant, "your transport is ready." Carol took one last look at Earth through the window before leaving. The world seemed smaller now, but humanity's future had become so much larger. On distant Drakari worlds, the invasion of Earth was already becoming a cautionary tale. Young Drakari learned about the humans who had surprised their mighty fleet. Military academies studied the battle as a warning against underestimating an enemy, and children were taught an important lesson. When the Galactic Council warns you about a species, you should listen, especially when that species is humanity. Back on the Council's main ship, Lurvek sat with Vendal, watching Earth through a viewing portal. "Do you think they're ready?" she asked. "Humans are still so young compared to other Council races. They learned in 6 months what takes most species decades," said Vendal. The founders chose well when they guided Earth's development. They still fight among themselves sometimes, noted Lurvek. Yes, said Vendal with a smile. But they also create art that moves even our ancient hearts, music that makes stars seem to sing, and ideas that surprise us after our millions of years of existence. The galaxy needs humanity's unique perspective. On Earth, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. They were no longer alone in the universe. And the universe would never be the same now that humanity had joined the galactic community. Life on Earth continued, forever changed, but somehow still familiar. The human journey was just beginning.